Hi everyone, this is Helloangel.design. Today I'm going to show you how to make pinafore dress with 2 pockets. Please support me by subscribing and also click the notification bell so that whenever I upload new video you will be the first to be notified. If you have any question, put it on the comment section. If you're just stopping by, thank you so much for watching and let's get started. So in today's tutorial, I'm making a pinafore dress with lightweight denim fabric, and I'm using African print for the pocket, and these are my strap. The strap I'm going to also use African print and also denim. And I cut facing for the pinafore dress. This is how it is. So let's start putting the dress together. First thing that you have to do, open your pinafore dress. This is the back of the dress and this is the facing. I'll just put them together and I make sure both front are facing each other. I'm going to pin around the both armhole of the dress. Once you have done pinning the both armhole of the back dress, take it to your sewing machine, just stitch around the both armhole. And then you will take the front dress. So this is the front dress. Also go ahead and put the facing of the dress. Make sure both front are also facing each other. So what you're going to do, you're going to pin around the both armhole, neckline, and the shoulder seam. Once you have done pinning the both armhole together, take it to your sewing machine, stitch around the both armhole, neckline, and the shoulder seam. I have top stitched the both armhole, neckline, and the shoulder seam. The next thing that you have to do, snip around the both armhole, neckline, and the shoulder seam. And you also take your back dress, you snip around only the both armhole. I've finished snipping around the both armhole. The next thing that you have to do, turn the dress inside out. So this is how it will look right now, and you will take the back dress, you do the same thing, you turn it inside out. And this is how it will look. Just take it to my ironing board and press along. I have ironed the dress. This is the front of the dress and this is the back, so I just press it very well. The next thing that you have to do, put your strap together, make sure both front are facing each other, Take it to your sewing machine, just stitch a straight stitch across and down, a straight stitch across, down, straight stitch. Once you have done that, turn it inside out, take it to your ironing board, make sure you press it very well, and then you will take your pocket, make sure to also cut 4 pieces. Put the both front together, take it to your sewing machine, just stitch it all around, leave a gap so that you can turn the pocket inside out. And you do the same thing on this side, stitch it all around, leave a gap so that you can turn the pocket inside out. I have stitched the strap and the pocket, and I just take it to my ironing board and then press along. The next thing that you have to do, take it to your sewing machine, top stitch around the strap. Also go ahead and top stitch with the second strap. So when you're top stitching, make sure to set your sewing machine to 3 or 3.5. That will be your stitch length. For the pocket, I did the same thing. I turn it inside out and I press along. So what you're going to do, you put them together like this. The both pockets are together. You fold the top of the pocket inside, and then you fold it like this so that both pockets are equal. One is no longer than the other. So you put them together. I will just pin that. What you're going to do before you start stitching the pocket, when you're going to stitch, let me just place a pin right here. So when you're going to stitch the pocket, stitch from where the pin starts, just stitch it all around. And you do the same thing with the second pocket. So when you're stitching, start from where you place your pin, just stitch it all to where the pins also end. So once you have done, when you're stitching, don't put them together. I place this pin right here so that I know that the both pockets are equal when you place it on your dress. One is not longer than the other. That is why I place this pin right here. But when you're going to stitch the pocket, make sure to separate them. Start from where you place your pin, just stitch it to the other side of the pin. You do the same thing, just stitch it to the other side of the pin. I will also set my sewing machine to double stitch length. So I will show you how to set your sewing machine to double stitch length if you don't know how to set your sewing machine. But every sewing machine is different. Yours might be different, mine is also different. But the way I set my sewing machine to double stitch length, I will show you right away. So come with me and let's stitch that together. So I'm going to show you how to set your sewing machine to double stitch. I'm using Brother sewing machine. It's right there. So, and when I top stitch the strap, the stitch length was 3.0. So when you set your sewing machine, the normal stitch length, if you want it to be straight, zigzag, whatever you want your sewing machine to be, so you can set it. The button is right here, and the minus or plus. So straight stitch is 0, 1. So when I'm going to set it to double stitch length, so I will set it to 0, 2. You can see this stitches change to 2.5 and 0, 0. This stitch length I'm going to use to stitch the pocket. I have top stitched the strap, and I also top stitched the pocket. The next thing that you have to do, you take your dress. This is the front of the dress, and these are my pocket. The next thing that you have to do, take your measuring tape, measure from the bottom end of the dress. I will measure 5.5 inches. And from there, I will measure 1.5 inches. And I will take my pocket and I will place it like this. I will take a pin and just pin the pocket in place. Once I am done with that, I will take the second pocket and I will turn it like this. This is the front. I'm going to turn it on top of it. And I will take my dress and I will just put it on top of the pocket. Make sure the pocket didn't shift. Just place it like that. Just take few pins to pick the pocket at the back. And then once you have done it like this, open your dress and then you can pin the pocket all over again. This is the most easiest way to pin a pocket, because like the way it is right now, you will know that the both lengths are the same, the both sides are the same. One is not inside or one is not outside, so the both pockets are in the right position. Go ahead and pin your pocket together. Once you pin the front, then you can take out the back pin. When you're going to stitch the pocket on the dress, what you're going to do, I just take off the pin on the top right here. Continue from where the stitch line ends here and just stitch it all around. Make sure you still use the stitch length, double stitch if you're using double stitch. If you're using zigzag, just go ahead and use zigzag, but I use double stitch here. I will just continue from here and stitch it all around, and I will end here. And I will do the same thing on the second pocket. Once I have done with that, then I'll put the pocket like this. To hold the top of the pocket in place, I will just give it a slant stitch down, and I'll also give it a slant stitch down. So that is how you're going to stitch your pocket. You take your back dress. Before you go ahead and stitch, I just want to show you how to put your strap on the back of the dress so that you can just stitch everything at once. So what you're going to do, this is your back dress and this is your strap. So what I'm going to do, the African print will be facing the facing. You can see the African print right here. So when I'm going to place it, I'll make sure it's facing the facing. So place it like this inside the dress. Place the strap at the seam line. And just go ahead and pin that in place. I will take the second strap, do the same thing, put it at the seam line. So just go ahead and pin it all together. Once you have done pinning, take it to your sewing machine, top stitch all the way to the end. I just give it a slant stitch. This is how it finally looks when you're done stitching. You can see the slant stitch right here. So just go ahead and do the same thing on the other side and the other pocket. I have stitched the strap. Just take it to my ironing board and press it very well. And I also do the same thing with the front dress. I have also stitched the pocket in place. This is how it finally looks when you're done stitching. The next thing that you have to do is to put the dress together. So put them together like this, and make sure you put the facing together like this, and just take your pin around the side seam of the dress. So go ahead and start pinning your dress together. Once you have done pinning the both side seam of the dress together, take it to your sewing machine. Just give it a straight stitch all the way down and all the way to the other side of the side seam. And once you have done stitching, you can either zigzag to overlock the raw edges or use overlocker to overlock the raw edges. And you also do the same thing with the facing. For the facing, you can also use overlocker to overlock the raw edges of the facing like this, or use zigzag to overlock the raw edges. So go ahead and stitch the both side seam together. I have top stitch the both side seam of the dress, and I just take it to my ironing board and press along. The next thing that you have to do, take your dress to your sewing machine, top stitch the both armhole, the neckline, the shoulder seam, and the back of the dress. And you can also hem your dress. You can either use serger to overlock the raw edges and then just fold it inside and top stitch, or just fold it and then fold it again and top stitch around. So go ahead and hem your dress and top stitch the both armhole, neckline, shoulder seam, and the back of the dress. I have top stitched the neckline, the both armhole, and the shoulder seam, and I also hem the dress. The next thing that you have to do, just place a button and use hand to stitch that in place. Make sure when you're doing that, thread your needle and just stitch it in place like that. And you also do the same thing on the second pocket. And then you come to the side seam of the dress. So this is the side seam of the dress right here. The allowance, this facing and the allowance, put them together like this. And just use hand stitch to stitch that in place. And we'll do the same thing on the second side of the side seam. Your allowance, you're not stitching your dress, your allowance and the facing, just use hand stitch to stitch that in place. Once you have done that, your dress is finally ready. It's just for you to insert your button or your snap. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you learn 1 or 2 things from this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe. You all should have a beautiful day. Bye.